Have you ever been caught off guard by a scent, a song, or a familiar place that suddenly brought you to tears? Grief triggers can strike when you least expect it, and it makes ordinary moments feel so overwhelming. But I'm here to tell you there are ways to navigate them with more ease and self compassion. In this video today, I'm going to share some practical strategies and tips to help you manage daily grief triggers. All right, so let's jump right in. What exactly are grief triggers? Grief triggers are reminders of your loss or your loved one, and they can be anything. They can range from a song, a smell, a picture, a movie scene. It can even be a certain place that you go to. It may also be the time of year, and your body all of a sudden may start to feel like it did right when you lost your loved one. Triggers can bring back a flood of memories or stir up some intense, overwhelming emotions, and sometimes without even warning. And you may be left with, like, where did this come from? You can't always avoid them, but know what? You can learn how to deal with them, or I should say, how to respond with more self compassion and care when they do arise. So, we're going to look at 7 tips to help you when grief triggers arise. The first one is identify what are your common triggers. That's one of these first steps, is to recognize and acknowledge what they are. So if you know that anytime you hear a certain song or you watch a certain TV show or movie that you're going to get very upset or a flood of emotions, that is one of the triggers. So you need to pay attention to what causes a strong emotional response or reaction. Is it a specific date or a place that you used to visit together with your loved one, or even certain social situations? And like I said earlier, it could be certain times of the year. Keep a journal or make mental notes, or I tell people, use your voice memo on your phone and just document it in there so that you can identify these patterns to help you prepare for when triggers arise. Number 2, ground yourself in the present. When a trigger hits, your body may go into fight or flight mode, and grounding techniques can help you stay in the present moment. One of the ones that I teach people all the time is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And that is pretty simple. Identify 5 things that you can see. And I tell people, don't just say, I see that lamp in front of me. I see that picture in front of me. I want you to really identify it. Like, I see that lamp. It's about 2 feet tall. It has a beige shade and the base is filled of seashells. Really go into detail when you are describing the things that you see. Now, 4 things that you can feel. And I suggest doing the same thing as you're touching and feeling. Like, I'm feeling the top of this desk and it feels nice and smooth. But if I feel on the edges, I can feel some of the indentations and the bumps. So you're going to describe that too in your head. Listen for 3 sounds that you can hear. Right now, I can hear my voice. I can hear the birds outside singing, and I hear the fan. Identify 2 things that you could smell. Maybe if you can't smell anything, I will switch the next one, which is 1 thing you can taste. Maybe taste 2 things, smell 1 thing. Sometimes I suggest to people that, whether it's anxiety or grief, carry something like lavender or something that kind of smells in your pocket, because that can also help you ground. So this simple exercise is something that you can do anywhere, no matter where you're at. It calms your nervous system and brings you back to the present moment. It's not going to make everything go away, but what it's going to do is reduce the symptoms and the distress level that you're at right now. Tip number 3, you want to create healthy boundaries. It's okay to set boundaries when you need to. If there's certain places or events or people that regularly trigger overwhelming grief for you, give yourself permission to step back and say no. This doesn't mean that you are avoiding your grief. It means that you're protecting your peace while you're healed. So make sure that you give yourself the grace to say no and set boundaries when you need to. Tip number 4, have a comfort ritual. Create a small comfort ritual that you could turn to when you are triggered. It could be something as simple as making a cup of tea. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could also be holding a keepsake or stepping outside and getting some fresh air. Having some go-to soothing activities gives your mind and body something familiar to anchor to when these overwhelming emotions come up. Tip number 5, use self-talk and affirmations. Triggers can sometimes make you feel like you're back at square one in your grief. When this happens, try some gentle self-talk. Maybe try saying something like this: this is just a trigger. It's not a setback. I am safe in this moment. I can feel this and still be okay. Affirmations can help remind yourself that what you're feeling is temporary and that you have the strength to move through it. Tip number 6, share your triggers with someone that you trust. Grief can feel so isolating, but you don't have to face this alone. Let somebody in your life that you trust and that's a good support for you, let them in on what triggers you so that they can help in those moments. Or if they know this scene in the movie is going to be coming up and I know that may make you upset, or an event, they could be with you and help you as you are going through some of these situations that you may feel triggered. When you share your experiences, you create space for others to offer support and understanding. It also helps reduce the fear of being caught off guard by a trigger in public. Number 7, allow yourself to feel. I tell this to people all the time. I actually have to remind myself of the same thing. It's okay. Give yourself permission to feel the emotions when they arise. If a grief wave or a trigger sets in, it's okay. They're painful and you're going to move through it. You just have to give yourself permission to feel it. Grief triggers are painful, but they are also a reflection of the love that you have for your loved one. Allow yourself to cry, scream, journal, look through pictures, and if you're angry, let the anger out. Or maybe just simply just sit with the feelings. I know for myself, sometimes I'll just sit out back and just let the tears flow. It's like a waterfall coming out. Just give yourself that grace. Give yourself that permission to do that. The goal is not to avoid the grief. It's to learn how to carry it with more compassion, more self-care, and more grace. I talked about in one of the tips about affirmations and self-talk. Another one can be listening to grief meditations. If you're interested in listening to grief meditations or guided imageries, I'm going to have a video up here that you could listen to after this if that is something that is helpful to you. I want you to remember, grief triggers are part of the journey, but they don't have to define it, meaning you don't have to get caught off guard all the time and think this is what it looks like all the time. When you're able to recognize, hey, I know what this is, I know what these feelings are, and I know that I can move through it, and it's okay. It's okay to feel these. It makes it so much easier to carry and move through these overwhelming triggers and these feelings that you have when they arise. By identifying your triggers, practicing grounding techniques, and being gentle with yourself, you can navigate them with more strength and more resilience. Remember, healing is not about forgetting. It's about finding ways to carry your grief while you're still living fully. Here are some questions that people often have when they are experiencing grief triggers. Why do grief triggers feel so intense even years after the loss? Well, today is one of those days for me. Today is the 9th anniversary of losing my dad. And trying to say this without tears. And that's 9 years. That's a while. And they still hit just as hard. It's not about time. Grief lives in both our emotional memory and it lives in our body, in our nervous system. So it's normal for certain cues like sounds, smells, sights, pictures, time of the year, anniversaries to reignite some strong emotions. Sometimes, like clockwork, I don't even recognize anniversary dates or birth dates, things like that, but my body does. And it truly starts to feel sometimes like it is happening all over. What I've experienced is the days leading up to it, my dad's anniversary date. I usually am more tired. My body is way off. I feel like achy and I feel more emotional. Another question. Is something wrong with me if I still get triggered? No, absolutely not. There is no timeline for grief. And triggers do not mean that you're stuck or you're going backwards. Like I said earlier, it reflects the deep love and the bond that you have with your loved one. And it's part of your ongoing healing. So don't let other people tell you you're going backwards and you need to get over it or things like that. They're all lies and they're a myth. Another question is, can I ever fully stop these grief triggers from happening? Well, I would love to tell you yes, but we might not be able to stop them when they come completely. But what we can do is reduce the intensity by understanding them and preparing for them and practicing coping mechanisms and strategies that help calm you and ground you. So as I said, this is the anniversary of my dad's passing. So I make sure that the week prior, I'm taking some extra care of myself. I may be taking naps or I may be taking more breaks. I may take some time off. I get outside a little bit more. I am preparing for that and I'm giving myself the grace in case the wave comes really hard. Another question I get is, how do I explain triggers to people who don't understand grief? You just need to be honest with them and tell them what's going on. So you might say something like this. Sometimes certain places or dates are hard for me, and I may need a little extra space or support that day. It's that simple. Just letting them know where you're at and what you might need. Another question. What if a trigger happens in public and I feel embarrassed? I want to let you know that it's okay. And vulnerability is part of this. Sometimes we have to put ourselves in positions and we're not sure what might show up. And we just have to give ourselves that grace. What would be helpful is you could do some discrete grounding techniques. So maybe you're in a meeting and you could feel it happening, like you feel it in the pit of your stomach, you're on the verge of tears. Maybe just sitting there, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just tapping with my feet back and forth. I'm just tapping. So just doing some bilateral stimulation, or you could tap with your hands, right, left. It's helping you get grounded, helping calm your nervous system. So, or even maybe just doing some deep breaths, if you can. You want to try to do some gentle self-talk or maybe movement. Maybe just getting up, getting a glass of water, going to the bathroom, excusing yourself, going to the bathroom, splashing some cold water on your face. Anything that might be able to just remove yourself from the situation for a couple minutes. It's okay. Just remember that grief is human. It should not be shameful. I hope that you found this video helpful. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who might be navigating through their own grief triggers. And remember that you are not alone on this journey. Until next time, continue mending piece by piece, one step at a time.